just like you want. I'm sick and tired of being the one you judge. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired.
Hey everyone, we've got ourselves some Paladins Global Series. My name is Latigress, here with the wonderful, fantabulous Goremizer. How are you today?
I don't know if I've heard those two words combined to describe me ever before.
Well,
but I'm doing good. I'm doing even better
so.
now because I have wonderful, fantabulous to add to like my resume.
Yeah, it's just in the objective line, like at the top or summary, you're just going to be like, I'm wonderful, fantabulous.
I have video proof that I've been described as such.
Well, you know what else is also wonderful and fantabulous? HRX. And if you want to be there November 16th through 18th, you can buy your tickets right now at highresexpo.com. PWC, Console Wars, SWC, and the Console World Championship.
It's a lot of stuff going all through. Console Wars, I'm wondering if we're going to end up adding some things, because I noticed there's a little announcement I saw earlier today. From Nintendo.
There is, but also something that has been going strong for the last couple days is we have Realm Royale that has been hot and heavy in the broadcast. Plenty of streaming going on with these individuals on your screen and more. Yeah, with this, the little Nintendo announcement that happened earlier, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to.
I think I figured out why I can enjoy Realm Royale a lot. In other games, when you die, you just get knocked out and you're back on the menu having a queue again. When you die in this one, you get to be a chicken, and it's just such a fun experience for your death that you just can't feel negative about it.
You forget about the fact that you
like,
messed up and you just died.
But I'm also this really funny chicken running around with a little flag.
I did it on purpose, everybody. That's why I died, because I wanted to have a flag, and I wanted this weird eye cross thing, which is amazing. But here we are, our bracket, Wolfpack versus Team All Mid. And Wolfpack, we didn't get to see last week. A lot of the teams took a little bit of a break, and we didn't get to see here either at the LAN because last minute we're unable to make it.
Unfortunately. But they have been the team, I think, in SEA that have kind of changed things up. It was good for Renegades that they weren't here because Renegades got to come in their place. But this is in that area where they were, it was kind of like a bunch of teams all around in SEA where it's like, man, you guys are even, but not in the good way. You're all even because you just haven't had that next level performance. Wolfpack was the one that's like, all right, we're just going to make a super team, and we're just going to start dominating in SEA.
Super team heading to Stone Keep. But with that,
like the emblem.
Yeah, just I don't know. Is it big W? Is that, or would it be WP? Do they have two initials, or is it just the one?
I don't know. It looks better with just the W, because then I could use the emblem.
That's true.
I can't use WP. I can just grab the W though.
There we go, everybody. I wish I had like a super emblem or something, but
super emblem.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. But All Mid actually has to face off against what has been known to be the strongest team within the region, and that can be a lot of weight to bear. They're going on a map that's pretty neutral. Cassie and Shaolin, the Bo Bros, first to be locked in here, as well as Terminus.
I actually really like this drafting just because it comes down, okay, well, we can't get Cassie. And we know, as of right now, I actually think I want to give a little bit more weight to Terminus than Inara. I think Inara is better at not dying, but I think Terminus is good at not dying and being aggressive. He kind of like is a little bit lower on his survivability scale, but a lot higher on his terms of actually being able to get aggressive and attack on his own. And when you add the Shaolin and at least someone to backs the Cassie, it gives you box the Cassie. It gives you just a little bit of an edge.
If Terminus can manage to put himself in positions where he's directly in the face of his opponents, that's where he thrives. That's where he does the most damage. And you have Strix to take care of everything from afar in this composition. Kinessa wasn't banned out either, so if All Mid wants to pick that up, then they can. But I don't know if they're prepped for that sniper v sniper battle. And it looks like they are just going to go with Cassie and Leon, picking up a lot of the heavy lifting for damage with Genos to supplement.
And a lot of the Strix is going to be the reveal. This is where I would like to see Moldamba, come through. Swiss Spirits is going to help out the Terminus again to get into that boxing match where you can just move forward. You can keep Shaolin, Buck alive without having to worry too much because you have a hit scan heal. And then Strix is just going to do Strix things. I don't think Moldamba's really worried about him.
Yeah, he ain't too worried about it. Gonna go ahead and take care of Terminus, make sure that he's staying alive when boxing it out with Inara. And that's the thing, you have Inara and Nando on the opposite end, so when you have that much, it always puts a bit more weight on the frontliner on the opposite end. But as long as the team is working as a collective, as we know Wolfpack to do, then they should be good.
Overburn, Flare XL, this is something that I think has seen for a long time from Strix players. It's just because that reveal is so good. Team-wide, everyone can see it. You increase the range, you increase how long it's going to actually be there, and it makes it a lot harder on the side now of Team All Mid to actually fight against that because they know you're positioning that well.
And here, Slicky is taking that traditional positioning for Strix right off the bat with In-Stone Keep. And many members of Team All Mid actually rotating over to the stairwells that are enclosed on the side. Nando taking a bit of damage himself. No one has decided to rotate directly to the objective yet. Ray gets the kill onto Mux, and maybe because that frontliner is gone, now that opens it up for mid.
And they're going to be moving forward, although a lot of these carries are taking half their health from these shots. Slicky finding some good ones, and I don't know if I've ever seen him actually go on the Strix, but it's looking just as good as how I remember his Androxus coming through. He was one that has carried this team in scenarios where they might not have been able to win before, so I'm expecting a lot from this.
Slicky Ricky here. His name's not actually Ricky as far as I know, just rhymes. I feel like it would fit. If it was, it would be cool. But Ray ends up falling to Fees right now. So Wolfpack, they've actually been kind of just waiting for their opening. I think that early on, the Terminus getting eliminated didn't obviously work out for them, but they were hoping to get that first blood, maybe a second one to follow up to put him out there in safety. Luckily, in the first round, without any comeback mechanic or anything, that 60% can get surpassed. But it's still a battle out right now as Inara steps on the objective. And wow, All Mid picking up a couple of important kills for themselves. 3 down for Wolfpack.
Slicky's definitely the one that I think is going to be making the big change. Unfortunately, even as just a sniper, you can pick up kills, you can try to return whatever you can in terms of damage, but you're not usually enough presence. You do not have the health bar to stand on the point, especially against an Inara. And so Team All Mid are going to be able to take that one away and push back Wolfpack into their base.
And they're already working with that aggression, sending both of the frontliners to that side where you notice so many people for Wolfpack in kind of that open field area that to me looks kind of like a quad on a campus or something, I guess. And because they're grouped up in that way, but there's safety when you're in the opening passageway on the left if you're looking towards the spawn zone, then having the frontliners there, they just have so much survivability.
Right now, I'm kind of curious. I feel like we've seen a lot of like weird positioning coming down from Wolfpack, where it's like you could tell they want to fight, but they just aren't in some scenarios. Or there's a point, I think I saw Shaolin emote, and it's just kind of like, I understand maybe trying to get a little bit of a peek to see where is everybody. It takes your camera out a little bit so you have a little bit more view, but it didn't really afford that much. Then he goes over, gets a couple shots on the Inara, and then died.
Yeah, that's pretty rough when... If you're going to die, you want to make sure that you get that value beforehand to set up your team. There's a third tab in space, is decent angle, but didn't get the clip that he wanted. Leon is the one that's out for Team All Mid, which is putting this payload on a delay at 50%, but regressing as it stands. And we're at that point where a lot of these ultimates are online as well.
One good Buck Wild can really just eliminate a front line. If you get it off and you are able to kind of maintain it, a lot of Bucks will either get stunned, they can get killed, something can go wrong that forces them away. But if you get a good ult off, then that could make the difference. Of course, it's one of those ones that you really kind of want to hold it until you absolutely need it. Right now, this payload, even at 60%, is just not as big of a threat for getting converged that you need to start popping ults.
Also, because then it's like you want to wait for the right moment, but then you also are hoping to keep some of them into the next round so you don't keep putting yourself in a position of having to just not capture, defend, not capture, defend. And at least if you can pick up kills like that, get the kill onto the Cassie without using the ult. But unfortunately, it is a trade back and forth so far.
Right now, this is a fight that, honestly, at the long run, should go Buck's way. It just kind of depends on how he deals with this shield, having to fall back. It's really awkward fighting a Fernando when you have no way to get around or through his shield or just take it down. And so Fees just kind of holding this angle to make sure no one can flank.
Maybe with this vision, Team All Mid looking to get aggressive. Usually that's kind of a sign to do so when you pop that ultimate. At this point in time, a seismic crash to follow up as well, but no kill immediately off of it. Inara chunked down super low, asking for some healing for herself, and luckily able to get chunked back up, but Ray gets chunked down.
Good shots coming through. Fees not quite able to find any kills, but again, keeping everyone low, which is going to make it a lot easier for Slicky once he's back and in position to find some shots. This last hit, oh, you needed it right there. Still going to be able to find Ray, but it's not going to be as big. Or Raynal, since they have 2 Rays on their team.
When I saw Ray, I thought, man, we can't shorten Raynal to Ray because then it's going to get a little bit confusing.
Ray squared.
Yeah, Ray squared on the side of Team All Mid. TAM. I guess you could shorten their name that way if you really wanted to. But Wolfpack get the defense, and with a team of this caliber, you expect them to not get blown out necessarily right off the bat. Maybe try and recognize some of the flaws in the positioning early on.
The big difference, and I think this is actually, like, the slash lines are the best example of this. You see Team All Mid, like, the worst is really, I want to say, 2 and 5. That's the worst case scenario they have on their team. 5 and 4, 1 and 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. A lot of people doing their job. I Am Ray kind of creating that space at the right time was where those kills came through. Wolfpack, it's like he's 7 and 2, but it hasn't been able to create the same effect. A lot of those kills were during the defense. Now he needs to try and pick those up during the capture.
It can be really difficult when you're looking at a sniper's performance on their team because sometimes their slash line is not impressive, but you think, okay, they have a lot of damage because they're looking for the rest of the team to actually clean it up. Or it is impressive, but they didn't get the objective, and it's like, well, they can't actually go and step onto it themselves. Yeah. So when you actually lean into a composition like that, you're kind of submitting to a lot of things, but here's a few ultimates. Both supports actually throwing theirs out. The Dread Serpent and through Time and Space, Acapella gets the kill onto Unforgotten, who will be forgotten in the meantime as Feasel Fees is in pursuit of this Cassie. Drops down, one more pop right into the face, and she is eliminated, but it's 2 for 1.
Unfortunately, yeah, taken out immediately after finding that. A beautiful shot from Slicky onto Ray, going to be able to get that kill. And Nara is low, but still not quite dead. Terminus chasing it down, but Mux in a very bad position. It was kind of a 2v1, 3v1 when it comes down to the damage that was being dumped into him. And again, no one really has the wherewithal to take that spot. Once Terminus is gone, you don't really have anyone for the point.
That was a long seismic crash to lock down Slicky, but no one was immediately in his face to follow up. But right there, Ray was able to rotate, get the kill onto the sniper. And Team All Mid looking pretty good on this objective. You see everybody that is up on Wolfpack, they're locked down right now. Is anyone even going to be able to make it there in time to stop this? Doesn't look like it.
Especially Feasel Fees being taken down, Mux not able to touch down either. So once you get rid of those two, there's no one tanky enough. I mean, Strix, you really never want to see on the point unless you had already captured it and he's actually moving up to get an aggressive positioning. It's the only time I think it's really going to be useful to see a sniper. I think in the past we've seen some Kinessa plays. Specifically, I'm thinking of Bugsy being able to teleport down, get some overtime, and cause a lot of insanity on the point so that people don't know what exactly was going on.
When Terminus is facing off against Inara, as you can see right there, isn't eliminated, but still got locked down so much because of Warder's Field, able to pick one up onto Ray. But I think if you look at Wolfpack's performance at the beginning of the capture, this time around, they did get a little more aggressive with their frontliner. I think they need to lean into that and allow him to survive in that area longer. The first round, I didn't like how long they were taking to try and make that rotation, which gave enough time for Team All Mid to punish them for it, take out Terminus, where they doubled up the time that they had to wait until they could have the objective focus.
Right now, Feasel Fees as well as Shaolin, you know, the Buck and the Shaolin are getting a lot of damage. They're doing relatively well in terms of poke. I don't know how many times I've seen them actually convert that poke into kills, especially Unforgotten. He has been in this area where there's been a few really good planteds, but it's always like just before that last shot can get fired, he dies. And it's just one of those unfortunate things that's kind of the trade-off for Shaolin. You know where you are, you're stuck in one spot so they can kill you easily, but you have a lot of damage if you can get it off just in time. So far, he just hasn't quite hit that mark yet.
If it happens once or twice, it's one thing, but if it's consistent, then your team just starts to kind of snowball in the opposite direction. A few ultimates, Slicky getting a double kill right off of his flashbang. You hear the Buck Wild come out as well, jumping right into the face of Reynal here, but Reynal has an escape mechanism of his own. Sends Fernando right in front for a bit of protection, but a few members of Wolfpack are peeking through this window, and they have their eyes set on the damage dealers.
Mux has the reanimate, which might be able to help with the way things have been going. He's been dying a little bit too often for the Terminus, and it's very difficult when you have that solo frontline. I mean, you have one guy, essentially, who can stand on the point versus the other team with two who will, and anybody on Team All Mid can touch down, at least, and then guarantee themselves getting out. A lot of Wolfpack put themselves at too much of a risk to try and defend things, so once you lose Mux, things get a little bit worse off. So going into this next round, that I think is probably the biggest ult they have.
There's a reason that even though Wolfpack looking pretty good on this defense, they get the point where, yes, now more teams are enacting the single front line as the meta has shifted. But before that, how we talked about Fnatic, that's always been their game, because Thiel is so consistent in his level of play as a frontliner. And it does put a lot of weight on that single person, because when they fall, what's your team going to do, right? Especially if you're facing off against 2 frontliners that can just rotate in and punish you for it. So you need to know specifically how to work around that. It's not just about the capabilities of that player on the tank, but everybody else with your protective abilities, your chance to follow up on anyone they lock down. It's all about that synergy.
Team all mid, and this is one of those rare scenarios where it's very easy to figure out what exactly your threat is. 12-3 on the Strix. Every single one of them's going into Haven to mitigate some of that damage to make it just so it's not going to be hitting quite as hard, and it's going to be a lot rougher for Slicky in this kind of area to actually get anything done for his team, so the rest are going to have to step up to have a much better performance.
And Mux is aggressive again, but getting punished. I want to see how long he's going to last in this interaction. If there is no follow, but there's a Dread Serpent. That's going to create some separation. Slicky with his ultimate as well. Hopefully this disorientation on the enemy team is enough. It is enough to pick one up onto Ray, but now they need to go ahead, see the Inara right here on the point, find a way to get her off of it, even though there's a Genos standing right on by for the heal up.
I like the flare. I like the positioning again, trying to get a little bit of vision, although don't quite think he has the Cassie in his sights. Not going to be able to find the shot. And the way things are going, it's back and forth. This one's actually, I want to say, a lot more contested just because Mux didn't die early on. You've lost Fees, you've lost a couple members on the side of Wolfpack, but Mux is still alive up until, looks like just about now with the way damage is coming onto him. There's only so much you can do to zone for him.
He keeps cutting it real close. Finally does go down, has the reanimate available, comes back to life in the meantime, but immediately gets focused once again. And with that slow charging ultimate, when you pop it and you get no value, then that is super rough for your team, hoping that the rest will pick it up for him. And Slicky is just zoning in on these players, trying to make up for those deficits.
And I would say, honestly, that's one of those rare ults that, as much as it sucks to die immediately as Terminus, it feels like, especially as Mux probably thinking, man, I've got nothing out of that ult. He got rid of the Inara wall, and he put a lot of burst on him so that it wasn't available for the next few minutes, and that has allowed Slicky, Fees to actually get aggressive and fight a little bit more. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough time. 96, 99, they're on the point. No one from all mid is touching.
Slicky's on a roll right now, too, and knowing that the seismic crash is taken out, there are not a lot of ultimates on the side of Team All Mid. All there is a scalp, but Wolfpack finally get their first capture of this game, and I really think you have to thank the Strix for that.
And this one honestly feels like it might be the most important capture, because if they push this through, they win the whole game, even though it didn't look really good early on, especially, I mean, items, credits, everything leaning towards Team All Mid. Now they're starting to equalize a little bit of that, and you can ride that momentum towards the tail end. You can say, look, we grabbed the point, and we're winning fights. You haven't defended all game. This is where we can finally turn it around.
And Unforgotten, with his Heat Haze, tried to, I think he wanted to clear this top balcony area where you're often having that duking it out in the straight line. Unfortunately, he gets taken down by Nando pretty soon after. So now Team All Mid are moving on forward. They take down Mux as well. And the payload made it a pretty decent way, but this is the really difficult part when you've gotten enough kills onto the enemy team where you can send Inara, you can send Ray, all to blockade them completely.
You're feeling, I feel like Unforgotten facing something that he didn't quite expect, and something that honestly, unless you know about it, it will be very odd to you. And that's that he pops the Heat Haze, he's invisible. Then you hear there's one big key, and you hear go Ziggs on the other side of the team. Cassie throws out her scout, which completely renders his actual invisibility pretty much useless. You can still see him, you see the silhouette because of the ult, and it makes it so that Heat Haze really isn't that big. His entire ult essentially gets countered.
Look at a way that Terminus is also getting locked down right now, but luckily, with the help of the support, has been able to last through it. We saw a similar thing before where it always looked like he was about to die, but luckily was getting some healing. And this is giving enough time for his Immortal to get charged back up as well. I don't think he's in a position where if he does die, it would be worth popping it, but it's still a good resource to have. Payload, though, it has been falling back and back and back. Team All Mid just grouping so effectively.
This is it in one of those moments. Mux looks like he's going to go down. Do not reanimate here. Hold it for the next round, being able to keep it through, especially when Reynal comes through and gets a triple kill. There's no point in trying to ult there. You would just die again, maybe giving a quadra up as the way things go. Wolfpack are in this scenario that it's very difficult to push, and it really sucks, but you do have to call this one overtime. Even with it, it just looks like all mid have way too good a grip.
So I guess if you kill a Terminus, and then you kill 3 people after that, and he reanimates, and then you kill him again quick enough to count for the penta.
Yeah.
dang. It's like a cheat code.
You can get a Hexakill, and the only way to get it is if there's the Terminus who reanimates and you kill him both times.
Do it.
So you essentially, like, if you kill Terminus, then kill everyone else, and then kill Terminus again after his ult goes off, that's perfect. I actually think it was Rubu during the fall LAN while he was still on Purity. I can't remember if he got a pentakill. Yeah, he got a pentakill.
He got a pentakill on Ruckus on.
And it would have been a Hexakill, but he didn't get the first kill on Terminus. And it was just that someone else got that, then he got the other 4 plus the reanimated Terminus, and he got the pentakill because of it.
That was probably one of the key moments where we looked and said, man, these Purity boys, with him and Rock Monkey, and then they were obviously picked up really quickly after. But that was just super impressive play to go against a PPL team and get that penta. But here we are in the PGS where you're looking for those players that are ready to stand out, whatever region they may be in. Acapella was duking it out with Mux for the time being, actually forced Terminus way back. But Wolfpack, I'm okay with them waiting in the way they have been in the past, but it's a whole different story when you're not waiting on your own accord. It's the fact that Team All Mid has applied the pressure.
And they're in this position where it honestly feels like they are having difficulty getting into the fight, especially with a wall like that. Slicky getting pushed away from this is really causing a lot more trouble. He's not able to create space. He's not able to snipe. Part of the reason I feel like we've seen snipers kind of dissipate on this map is because of this kind of reaction. But now Terminus is going to be able to get in there. It's just a little bit too late.
Yeah, Team All Mid, they just... I think whenever it was the start of a round, it always felt like they got their footing a bit quicker. And then... yeah, you can have a moment to just recalibrate and kind of collect yourselves, but Wolfpack, then the moment that they would take to do that, Team All Mid would recognize that weakness and then just keep pushing them back even more, so they got the victory 4-3.
And honestly, there was a lot of, again, just kind of not even bizarre trades, but you would see Ray just like, okay, well, I'm Leon, and here's 3 kills. Happy team. You'd see Raynal do the same thing, where it's just like, all right, the 2 Rays doing exactly what they need to do. They're just finding these kills where Slicky, even in return, if he gets 1, 2, there was no one to follow up with that.
So, Team All Mid pulling ahead within the set. And we are going to Jaguar Falls next. So, when you have the 2 map bands that you see on your screen, those are some of more niche maps, so I think it's pretty expected to go to some of the standard locales.
And it's just one of those, I mean, Ascension Peak is one, Timbermill was the other when it comes down to the bands, and it's just like, it makes sense. People don't really like Timbermill in the sense that it's a very long map. Same thing kind of with Ice Mines, although I think a few people have figured out Ice Mines to make it a little quicker. And Ascension Peak is still, I want to say, in that fresh new area where people are like, we don't know this one well enough to make it something fast, so we just can't guarantee a win there.
Yeah, with Ice Mines, it's a lot about get past that first choke point. And if you can get past that, then it's a lot easier to get all the way to the next big choke point, which is basically right in front of the spawn area. So, and that's where a lot of people would waste the time early on and why it was such a difficult push. But interestingly enough, as the gates come down, we were thinking, yeah, that would help with it a bit. And as that time went on, like, timeline-wise, that's what we've seen, but I don't think it's really because of the gates. It's like it's this weird kind of coincidental, maybe it is, maybe it isn't kind of thing.
I feel like if the gate... So you know how the layout of the map is kind of like that? If the gate was instead of over here where there's already a connection, down there at the corner, and it opened up on the push, that would make that map go by a lot faster.
You just circle around and you're like, ah, this is a true backdoor.
Like, you can't actually, like, you can't use it to flank during the point. But then once you capture and it goes up, then it's like, okay, well, now you can flank. It makes that first choke point a lot easier. I should probably go talk to the designers about this. Move this game.
A lot of fun looking at the...
We figured it out.
The maps and everything.
Ice Mines.
But Jaguar Falls is a whole different story as far as Ice Mines. It's warmer. And while
a lot more Jaguars.
Yeah, a lot more Jaguars, little statues and
stuff.
Then
I assume there are at Ice Mines.
Yeah, I don't think Jaguars would be very happy in a place like that. But as far as the way the push goes, is a lot of these maps actually have this in between Ice Mines and here where, yes, there's a part early on if you're on the defense that you can try and hold the payload in. But because there are multiple directions of access on Jaguar Falls, it's a bit easier to try and break through that if you are on the offense on the push, if you're at least coordinated enough and making sure you're keeping an eye on the flanks and seeing things like the Xin come through and such. That's what you expect to see.
Now, I don't know if last time All Mid had a sub or if it's this time, but I can't remember. I've already forgotten his name. Started with a Z on the Fernando, who was like 8-3 at one point and is not here for this game, so that might actually be just enough to be able to take it. Yeah, Zerlock, as he came through, was very good there, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. I Am Ray's still available, still getting kills.
Yeah, right now putting down the pressure. Bomb King, we haven't seen yet in this match, and if you have a good Bomb King player on your team, they can be super imperative to your composition. Mux right now, he has a bit more range onto him, and I think that the aggression that he wanted to execute before, in this case, paying off a little more, but Team All Mid, 84%. That's a lot that you have to catch up with. They're getting a trade, at least finally. It's 1-for-1, taking out the sustain.
Double frontline is really what you need in scenarios like this, where it's just, if your triple DPS is not going to have the same damage, and I guess actually it's just the 2 DPS, but the con not boosting, I want to say, the way that you would normally expect. Shaolin, I haven't seen make a huge difference. And Slicky this time around, not on a sniper, onto Leon, but still not quite hitting the way you want from Wolfpack.
And Acapella was on a frontliner last time. He was on the Inara, and now switching over to the Xin. On this map, I do like to see flanks because of the fact that on the capture, there are different rotations that you can make. Right here in this actual aspect, particularly if you're on the defense, you can use that flank to try and lock down. But Wolfpack finally dishing back a bit of that damage. They just seemed a bit taken aback once again at the start of this game.
And it seems as though like their pushback is always coming, you know, like 45 seconds a little bit too late. You know, it's like, okay, well, you lost the point, and now you're starting to find out, okay, well, this is how we need to fight them. And part of that is less Wolfpack, I think, actually being able to fight back as well, and more All Mid getting aggressive, getting maybe not necessarily too far extended, but not recognizing, okay, we shouldn't have taken this fight there, we should have approached it from this angle instead, and then they come back the next fight and they do exactly that. They just change it up on the fly and make it a lot harder for Wolfpack.
It's almost just a bit of sluggishness from Wolfpack in those moments that you're saying where they just come back a little too late. And if they can tighten it up, then we'll see the Wolfpack that we've known in the past to be one of the top in the region. Obviously, both of these are in the finals. That means they are making it to the finals of the phase. Wolfpack we didn't get to see last week, and now first appearance since the last time we were casting PGS before the lands. But there's a seismic crash that went right into the face of the Bomb King, which is what allowed Asura to clean that up. And Wolfpack standing really, really well on this defense.
Good kills starting to come through, and that's exactly what they needed, something to just get the ball rolling for them. Just cause a little bit of momentum, just something to get, like, I guess, their hands warm with the way things have been going. Their aim finally back on point. Everything starting to feel just a little bit more Wolfpack the way things are going, although they do still have a lot of work cut out for them. 20 seconds left to defend, but they need to work on this point capture.
Yeah, that first choke that we talked about before we went into the game, I think that Wolfpack has been taking major advantage of it, but right now recognizing the payload is going to make its way through, stepping on back, Feaselfees taking this angle, rains a few shots into the enemy Genos, but eventually gets caught out by Ray, who gets the triple kill on the Bomb King, looking for another, but even if you don't get the kill, it's still affected by pushing Khan so far back.
You're going to be able to get a little bit of pressure off of this. The problem is you're fighting respawn timers on your team versus respawn timers on Wolfpack, and they're not only going to be able to spawn faster, but they're going to go right outside the door, and you're right there, ready to fight. Depending on how this goes, one person sitting on the payload, the damage still coming down from Ray. This is opening it up. They could potentially convert this.
Mux was able to keep alive for so long, but a lot of it wasn't just in the fight. It was after backing off and then coming back into it. And a King Bomb is here to rotate. Oh, okay, he rotated and then went right into the face of Slicky, got that kill. Team All Mid down 2 players, and on the offense, that can be a very difficult place to be. Luckily, take down 1 for Wolfpack, but yeah, that was a little rough after that ult.
I think a name that is going to be remembered for this region right now is I Am Ray. It is just like the way that they played last game, the way that they're playing this game, is making the difference for their team. And again, it's kind of the scenario where we see Slicky is 7-2. Slicky has a very good and even better slash line, actually, than the other side. You have Sacred Asura at 1-0-9, but it just doesn't look as clean from the rest of the team. The entirety of it doesn't quite have the same feel to it as Team All Mid being able to capitalize on what the space Ray gives to them.
And I think Slicky, who's had a good performance in both of these games, in the first one, it was on the Strix, where, yes, solid, but we already talked about the limitations of Sniper, and even at some points was willing to get on the objective, which is what resulted in their first capture of that game. But still, you're a Sniper, you can't necessarily be in their face. Right now with Leon, sometimes it's the case too where she applies the pressure. There was a nice ultimate. Yeah, that's the overpower that just can be insta-kill if you're in that position with so much hazard zone on the side. But little pull right here. The column is a nice mode of protection. Gets gripped up as well. Ray with the kill. But yeah, sometimes Leon can't actually go and completely pursue the targets.
That is the biggest difference, I think, in this entire fight. You kill off Ray there, and you have the point. You're guaranteed to capture. You have no problem. You miss your Enlightenment. You miss a few shots. Ray gets a little bit of healing, but comes back not only with the kill onto you, but just tons of damage. Wolfpack has entirely fallen back because of that. While they have the chance for one more fight, it's going to be very difficult unless they can keep this Bomb King on lock.
They just lost their support. They just lost one of their frontliners. And Team All Mid, I know Bomb King has been a huge component of their aggression, though. So Wolfpack, they need to take this moment to take advantage, quite frankly. And I think that's what they're doing. Rotate towards the objective. Bomb King's going to be back and ready at this point in time. But still, that's a good thing on Wolfpack. Recognize we took out one of the people that's been harassing us the most, and now we can actually move forward.
I quite genuinely think that the way things have been going, actually, there's a beautiful snipe from the Genos. I was going to say, if you get rid of the Bomb King, that might just stop everything from happening, but it hasn't stopped anything coming down from All Mid. Damage is still all around. Sacred Asura, probably the one they're trying to kill off right here, get rid of the healer, and it's a lot easier to kill off that front line. It doesn't really matter. You can pick up anyone in the meantime.
Another strong defense. This time, of course, it's a reverse scenario. There's still a lot of time to push this through. But Team All Mid sending their flank on the side and having Terminus here for some protection as well means that Xin can swing away without having to worry too much about reaping. Oh no, he actually went but was blocked off, so couldn't land with the spite.
Just patience coming down from Acapella. I mean, recognizing, okay, well, I'm one hit, gonna back off, throws up his counter, goes into Billow, gets full health, and now he's able to hold this angle a lot better. Beautiful headshots from Slicky. They're gonna be able to keep him down, but again, that name that will keep popping up on the left-hand side of the kill feed. I Am Ray is going, not necessarily uncontested, but having a much easier time of finding kills than I think it really should be happening.
And I think a lot of it, too, is because look how much of those fights were happening in those enclosed areas, and Bomb King loves that. So, yeah. Go where there's walls all around you and you're going to have a difficult time escaping my blast. I'm totally okay with that. And if Wolfpack wants a chance of pushing this through, they need to bring the fight out into the open. But it's difficult because they have to be on the payload, which hasn't actually went into the open area just yet.
They're really locked into this unfortunate starting spot where, I mean, it's been there for 2 minutes now. Not moving too fast, too far. 30 seconds left. Acapella, I love the decision. Jump off the edge, just take the reset. The rest of your team is back at the base. Might as well join them, although a lot longer. I think he was on a big streak, so denying that a little bit, but also just making sure you hit that point where, hey, now you're finally on equal footing. You can set up your defense wherever you want.
The defense right now for Team All Mid is their choice to just set up for this next choke. Payload is going to be rolling on through under this archway as Ray on the mini high ground finds himself an enemy frontliner. And I love the way that Terminus is working here. Double kill for Ray, but he's usually always either in front of Ray or in front of Acapella whenever they don't have to directly be on the objective. And because of that, he's just creating this space for the Xin and the Bomb King to do the damage that they need to do to get these picks and prevent the push.
If I'm Wolfpack for this round, my #1 target is Bomb King. Then #2 is probably Xin, right? That's just the tier. You get rid of those two, and this round becomes so much easier for you. But specifically, you get rid of Ray, and it makes it a lot easier for you. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot really tooled to go to the back to kill off a Bomb King. You're relying on Slicky taking a boxing match or Feezelfees taking a boxing match. Bomb King comes out of that a little bit more often, especially when he has, royal subjects. He's got Master Writing to get there earlier, and he has that Cauterize, which is going to be making a lot more trouble for, Sacred Asura, but anybody in that kind of fight to get any sort of healing.
And Now we're going into the next round, 2-2. Lots of ultimates, every single one of them up. We might see some right off the bat, and there you go. Actually, a nice lock away. And that is what Wolfpack needs to do. You took out the Bomb King. Here's a Dread Serpent. Actually separates the Terminus. Muck's able to just box it out with the frontliner, and with the help of some friends, maybe. But no, there's a through time and space that actually forced him to back off. Slicky getting a kill before dropping, and this is a pretty tight fight.
They forced to reanimate. Bomb King's about to be back in the fight. Does have the King Bomb as well. Looking to be able to just come around on the side anytime things might be a little bit shaky. But I mean, it's only 18% for Wolfpack. All of that they did, and they didn't gain too much on the point.
Yeah, they had to end up just going straight into this all-out brawl, but if it were up to them where they could bring that brawl onto the point, then it might have worked out a bit better for them. But they were forced into the side rooms. And now it's Team All Mid. As soon as they get Ray back and the rest of the team, they're on the objective. And Terminus continues to just get in the face of the enemy. And knowing that the overpower isn't up as well, you feel much safer fighting near that hazard zone.
Being able to find good shots. Khan, I think, is probably one of the better picks they've had, specifically because of things like that. You throw a Power Siphon or a Fernando Shield, and this Mux is going to be able to take it down. Unfortunately, Power Siphon is relatively easy to pop back up. It's no big issue. Fernando Shield goes on cooldown if you can do it in the right timing. So you're taking these fights. You have a really good positioning. Has the ult up again as well. But it's 87-54. They really need the pressure.
And Spy was used to take out Slicky, and Ray is back. Ray is rocking heavy. There goes Mux, and it's overtime. Team All Mid, as long as they can prevent Wolfpack from touching onto the objective right now, this is going to be theirs.
Coming through. Again, you lock down Ray at the beginning. It goes really well for your team. And then Ray respawns. Ray has no lockdown, and Ray comes through and helps the team. I want to say, it just assists the team bringing it together. It wasn't anything crazy like a triple kill, quadra kill, but it's just the damage coming down from Bomb King, the pressure. I mean, just look at that. Khan cannot stand under the brunt of this. And when I Am Ray is able to turn that damage onto one of the bigger targets, there's nothing Wolfpack can do.
I think the way that Team All Mid responded to the fact that Ray went down as well was so important.
Yeah.
Because they didn't say, oh crap, our Bomb King's gone. I don't know what we do. I guess we just try to stay alive until they come back. They said, no, where are the members of Wolfpack? Looks like they're all clustered together on the side. Let's collapse upon them, where even if we don't get a big team fight of our own, we prevent them from actually making any progress on the point. And right now, because of that, they were able to get the capture once another fight ended up going in their favor. Payload moving much more swiftly than Wolfpack did in the time past, but not really quickly enough where it's going to be a blowout on this push. There's still a lot of time for Wolfpack to buy.
I want to call what we're seeing out of Team All Mid, not necessarily right now, but what we've been seeing kind of around the points, the way they fight. I want to call it the Rock Monkey effect. Not necessarily in the exact same scenario, and definitely I don't want to say at the same level as where you see Rock Monkey, but it's I Am Ray making a lot of big plays for them, having a huge impact, but it's that moment of, well, the four members of this team are making it so you can have that impact, or creating that space for you, or are able to capitalize on it even if you're not fully there as a player. And being able to do that makes a big difference, although it looks like unless things start going swimmingly for All Mid, this might just be another 3-3.
Oh, Slicky takes a lot of damage from Acapella, but he's able to just billow out of it before he himself goes down. No! Unable to get back onto the ground with the feet, and Ray gets a double kill. And that is a very important moment, because did you see how much Slicky was doing to actually keep that payload in place for so long?
Could we look at what Ray has in his loadout just to see what exactly was going through? Because that was a Poppy Bomb knockoff. That was really big. And it is its Jolt 5, 75% increased knockback on that. And that's all you need to get rid of Slicky off the edge.
Nice. He uses a King Bomb, gets another kill, a grip up for the double kill here. And Team All Mid pick up another game victory. And yes, it's still a brawl. It's a 4-2, I believe in this case. It was a 4-3 in the first one, but at the moments where the enemy was excelling, and I think Slicky was doing a great job of delaying that for a bit, as soon as that was cut off, they didn't have something else ready to rotate in and take up the slack.
And I think we got a really good moment of showcasing why loadouts can be very important, because it's one of those things that sometimes, like for champions kind of like Terminus, it's not usually going to make a big difference. There's like certain loadouts and certain matchups that make it, but that Jolt 5, if it's Jolt 4, Jolt 3, Slicky slides right back on and is continuing to get damage. Because it's at that high level, it gets him knocked off. He didn't have any increase in his distance on the dash, and so you win the matchup.
And I think there was a moment earlier where that may have been the case as well, just having so much of that.
No one expects Jolt 5.
Yeah, good call. Let's take a look at that load, because that did have a lot to do with the way that he was creating that space. But here we are, game number 3, could be the last one. But the thing is, yeah, 4-3, a 4-2. Wolfpack maybe under this pressure and the way that Frog Isle can be snowbally could maybe push this to a game 4.
It's very... I don't want to say unlikely, but it just feels as though their point fight, which I think is the most important fight to have because that's the only way fully to win the game, has just not quite been there. Finding a defense is good, but the way they're approaching this, it has to change, and I think that's a good reason to go to Frog Isle, being able to change it up. Unfortunately, Slicky has made such a name for himself that both snipers get banned away.
No snipers today. All mid, they do have first pick, and they're taking the Leon this time. Slicky had it during the last game, and I would say it's the case where we talked about how the fact he did well in game 1, he did well in game 2, but unless you're on something that can be super aggressive in their face, it's really hard to have that be enough to turn the tide.
And honestly, you get the Bomb King, you get your Moldamba, it feels good, but Ray was just as effective on Leon in game number 1 as they were on Bomb King in game number 2. It's just that area of the team's playing well. Now it's Leon, Khan, Genos. That is a very frightening lineup. If Cassie were available, I'd say she'd probably be the highest priority. It'd be there instead of Leon, but it'd be just a little bit more frightening. As it is right now, it's still pretty scary.
So Wolfpack, they have Inara and Moldamba, so that combination to have that state power on the objective, and I think they really need to lean into that. Some of the cases where they've lost out on the points is because they were too timid or afraid to go to the objective early. They wanted to have some kind of fight somewhere else to get the advantage so they could safely be on the point, but then if you lose out that fight, then you lose out completely.
I think Maeve could be the key here. You have 3 DPS. Maeve has been one that has been a huge talking point because as of right now, I mean, she's not necessarily unkillable, but it's very difficult. She has a very small window of which you can actually capitalize on it. A lot of damage reduction, especially towards the, I want to say, lower part of her health bar. You'll see there with persistence, 30% less damage when below 40% health, plus 30% damage reduction after using pounce. So if you get really low and you pounce away, you have 60% damage reduction that you don't have to worry about. So it's very difficult to get that last couple of ticks of health bar, and that's going to be Slicky. This is a champion that if you had to, you could potentially solo carry your full team on.
And he's made an impact so far. I wouldn't be surprised if this may be the thing that Wolfpack has been waiting on to make this work. And Hovenhurst, I believe we've seen on the Bomb King as well. So the combination of these two with a completely different style of damage and style of attack may be enough where a team all mid won't know exactly who they need to focus down on.
Good long-range daggers. Wolfpack being able to control this. 27% so far, and while I like the way all mid have been able to go, in fact, all mid actually feel much more like a European PPL draft, I would say. It's very difficult to deal with something like a Maeve unless you have a Void Grip and enough to follow it up. Reynolds finally going to be able to get that kill.
That was the first blood, so I feel like everything that Slicky put in the work for before just got completely counteracted. 63% for Wolfpack, but they lose 2 important members. And Team All Mid, see, this is what I think Wolfpack was trying to do in game 1 that Team All Mid actually executed a bit more clean. Wait, don't rush to the objective. They were waiting for the fight or that first early pick.
Did Acapella go morale boost? It feels like he got his ult online incredibly fast. No, that is cauterized. He has just been firing these shots. The first person with his ult in the game, and it's just been phenomenal. Going to be able to use that Mux. I'm sorry, but that's a delete button.
Yeah, that's tough. He saw the Inara and a decent amount of protection while he wound up the Dragon Punch. Ends up getting taken out before, but I think they're okay because they took out such an important just standalone on the objective. And Team All Mid, 99%. Somebody from Wolfpack has to come through. They're not going to be able to make it, so here we are, blue side with first point.
Boft able to pick up a kill right there. The healing and the boost coming from Ray on now the Khan. So flexing all sorts of different champions. I mean, we've seen the Leon, the hit scan. We've seen, I guess Khan is still technically hit scan, but it's a front line instead of a DPS. And the Bomb King. And now it's Boft's turn to shine in the light, who's going to be getting all the kills. Double for him right there. But look at the streaks burning for All Mid.
Yeah, that was just such a quick turnaround for them. Took their time, got a pick, followed up on it nicely, used an ultimate early, and that's the thing too. I like the fact that because Drogoz got the ultimate so early and using it before anyone else's really came online, then you fully capitalize upon the fact that you had that nice early charge. Nice locking right here, but just sits right into the wall. Should be able to get some last hits. Can you kill him off? Boff takes too much damage. Has to use the Enlightenment, but a lot of the damage isn't enough to go ahead and finish off. In the end, teammates are there for a reason, and Wolfpack lose 4.
Feel like all mid, maybe using a little bit too many ults.
I don't think they wanted to.
I think they needed to get the kill, but not quite as many as you wanted. You really want that overpower just a little bit higher to get her off the map. Unfortunately, not able to find it there, so they use Enlightenment and through time and space. But it has been pretty fast charging. I mean, 5-0 and 3, 3-0-4, 2-0-6, 1-0-4. Only 1 death on the side of all mid.
I feel like Ray was trying to do the dart down dunk that we talk about needing to happen, but it just ran into the... Oh yeah, you like the...
I like the dart down dunk.
Counting the T's over there. Yeah, the triple D right there. But ended up just going right into the rock.
Give him the triple D.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to have one moment, and that's going to be that moment.
There's
now I can move on.
But also, triple ult, I think, came out where it could have just been the one if that was successful. The Enlightenment was because Boff couldn't get the last hits and then took a lot of damage and was, hey, maybe I can clean up this kill before I die. Still wasn't able to, and then through time and space and all of that. But in the end, they didn't get punished too heavily for it. Here is 2 ultimates on the side of Wolfpack. Make that 3, a smack right into the face with a double kill for Hovenhurst. And with comeback mechanic available for Wolfpack, maybe enough. This is actually the first time comeback mechanic is available in this game because it's been just a lot of 1-1s.
I think this is the first time Hovenhurst has been back with his team. That has been, I was kind of curious because I was like, I recognize Hovenhurst, but I don't think I've seen him this set. He is a difference maker, a very big carry here in SEA, and actually being able to come back. You can see the effect he's having already. Wolfpack going to be able to come back. Comeback mechanic helps them immensely right there, although I don't know if they even needed it with how well they were playing that point fight.
Team all mid with their ultimates just haven't been as clean as the last games. He had a couple that were really, really good, but then right there, using the dome shield far from the objective, and it just seemed a little panicked, and Wolfpack still end up capturing anyway. So you got nothing off of that dome shield, which can be a game changer, and now you're having to defend.
Getting a little bit more aggressive. Ray pretty much able to just heal off most of the poke that's been done. Slicky not hitting a lot of these daggers, and that's making a big difference. I mean, Maeve is a tank killer, has huge amounts of burst when you run Street Justice, but you have to get a little bit of that burst beforehand to make sure that you're in, like, the big bang that comes from the pounce is actually going to be there. And unfortunately right now, it's just not enough connecting daggers. Finally going to be able to get a couple right there, but Hovenhurst cleans up the kill.
The angle that Slicky is taking as well, where it's one that offers him protection, but it also means that it's more difficult to hit the shots because you can only do so while peeking, and that's where some of that stability in hitting has been lost. Boff ends up getting taken out by Hovenhurst, though. Hovenhurst has that big boy potential to just kind of try and snowball this through for a push. It's just a matter of trying to chunk everybody down low enough where the rest of the team could follow up. But they themselves are in the back, and he decides to go deep for this King Bomb. But he's facing off against these nice, big, chunky frontliners. Isn't able to get the kill just yet, but Acapella ends up falling to Feasel Fees, who gets the double.
Feasel Fees with that stun right there saves Hovenhurst as well, so keeps them aggressive, keeps them alive, and keeps the payload rolling. 45 seconds left, but now all mid are locked in their base. They don't have much room to play with.
Yeah, it looked like Hovenhurst was going to fall, and that would have just meant that Team All Mid could have just come right back out of their spawning area and pushed Wolfpack away. But because he's here, they were locked down. Wolfpack get the point, and it's a 2-2, just a different fashion than all the 2-2s we've seen so far in the set.
Being able to keep it, grab it, get the point, a lot different from Wolfpack there than they have. And again, you're looking at it now. Feasel Fees is 4-2-3, something that I feel like we haven't gotten to really see the last 2 games. Hovenhurst 6-5-3, a lot of deaths, but a lot of potential with the carry. Slicky kind of batting the low one with the 2, 3, and 4, but the 3 carries that they have finally kind of stepped up, and they're feeling a lot more like the Wolfpack of old, which is going to be a little bit more frightening for Team All Mid. This point, I think, really does determine the game.
I'm looking to Slicky to either find somebody in the back line that he can just chunk down early to apply the pressure onto the frontliners and be that tank shredder that Maeve can be. Pick a target, and get them out of there as soon as possible. But when you're missing a lot of the daggers, you're not going to be able to do it in the quick enough fashion that you need. So now, Hovenhurst gets locked down for a moment, but Ray ends up taking the brunt of that damage. Here's Dragon Punch just to the sky, and a Dread Serpent as well.
I feel like Acapella may not have gotten the full memo. Still running Combustible, but still doing a lot of damage with it the way things are going, being able to try and make it work. And that's kind of been the big question. Fusillade offers a lot, but Combustible can still do a lot in team fights if you can get the proper placing for your Dragon Spin. Nice ult and follow-up from your team. As of right now, all mid in control, but it's going back and forth.
Yeah, a lot of those ultimates were executed in such a weird place that kind of, I don't know what this area, this flat grass that's on the opposite side of this capture, that's where the Dome Shield came out and the Dread Serpent. Everyone was trying to just get a big swing in their favor, but no team really came out so aggressively on top. There's the shots that you need to see to take this Drogos out. Now team all mid, that 42% gonna get matched right now by Wolfpack.
And exceeded as they take control. This has been the team that I feel like, again, they were dominating for a long time. You can see all mid. I think closing the gap between Wolfpack and the rest of the squad, but they really need to find a way back in here if they want to end at 96, 99. That's going to be grabbed up easily from Wolfpack.
And nobody from Team All Mid was able to make it in time. And I think they recognize that too. But then on top of that, they're getting picked off. So if you're not going to get the capture, then at least maybe you can get some picks so that you slow down their speed of that initial portion of the push. Unfortunately, because of the panic button that was pressed for just a moment's time, Team All Mid lost a couple and lost that opportunity to do just that. So Wolfpack looks like they're going to be able to meet this 50% mark.
This could be actually the point where the set could turn around with the way things are going. You grab that, you're riding the momentum right now. Wolfpack, with the way they are playing, if they can just keep up a little bit more, losing Hovenhurst really stops them, then they could potentially close this out. 1:45 left to be able to kind of close that gap and get back to not only the payload, but try to close it fully. But it's going to be a difficult push to get there.
It's a 13 streak for Shaolin. Just 9% from his Heat A's as well. That's about to come online. So Wolfpack, it's all about the risk that they're willing to take. If they want to try and finish this out and get that push, they have almost all their ultimates up. And here is the Heat Haze attempting to do just that. Slicky looks like he's in pursuit. A couple go down on the side of Team All Mid, 3 of them to be exact. But Slicky ends up getting locked down by Raynal. So it's the 1, make that 2, eliminated for Wolfpack. And now it's all on Feasel Fees to keep this streak up. Nope, found out.
Acapella gets rid of that. A minute left though, and it's Frog Isle. So you're going to be able to kind of stagger a couple of those kills back in, although that's going to be the big key, I think, is the stagger. It's right now 2v5, going to become a 3v5, then a 4v5, then a 5v5 again, but it's going to take a lot of time for that to come through, and you cannot die in the meantime or get knocked back right now. Hovenhurst really sent back to base, not only with his own Poppy Bomb, but the Combustible.
This is what you need to be seeing from Team All Mid. Unfortunately, they lose Acapella, but maybe the rest can hold it long enough for this 30 seconds to just expire. And it looks like Wolfpack, though, they're rotating from the opposite end. They pick up a couple kills of their own, and that's going to leave this opening starting to once again collapse upon this space around the spawn area.
Right now, Raynal, if you can get in, once it gets too close, Dome Shield is going to be your best friend. Unfortunately, that is not the spot to use it. Too low health, and now it's gone.
Oh no, finally ticking down. The payload is still rolling right now, getting a little bit of contest from the frontliners on Team All Mid, but there is Wolfpack with the victory. And I think if you look at the way that game went, there were a lot of ultimates I saw from Team All Mid that just seemed awkward and didn't work. And it happened way too often where when you're going against Wolfpack on Frog Isle, it's enough for them to close it.
I mean, what, 4-3, 4-2, now 4-2 for Wolfpack, but the last 4 points and the 4 points that Wolfpack were able to get were the ones where it kind of turned around. The first round, very heavily, okay, looks like we're going to be seeing Team All Mid close it out. And then it's like, well, guys, look, we have Hovenhurst again. We're feeling a little bit more comfortable. We're Wolfpack. You got to remember that. And they at least look better. But again, it kind of felt like it was at the end of All Mid making some more mistakes than they had the first 2 games.
Combination of that and then having Hovenhurst on the Bomb King. Because even Slicky, it took a little bit before he super got the feel with the Maeve. And once he actually kind of got into the groove of it, it was enough. But here we are on Ice Mines. We were talking a lot about this map earlier, and the way that if you can get past that first choke on the push early enough, then that gives you plenty of time to actually fight in that last choke near the spawn.
This one, with the way, I mean, they had shorter maps that should have been, well, that went 4-3. Shorter maps like normally 4-2, 4-1, 4-0, go all the way the distance. This is the one that's probably going to go 3-3. If it's the most likely one to go 3-3, it's going to be Ice Mines. So a lot of this, especially early on, I think is going to kind of set the tone. If all mid know what they're doing, this is their map choice because they lost that last game. They can try to get things rolling, and they might be able to find a 4-0 because of it. But again, this is a very difficult map to push.
Taking out the con as well, and I think a lot of that is because of more of the base portion of his abilities, because overpowered, there's only one area that you can really just insta-kill with it, and it's only during the capture and only if you manage to make it to that side. But the rest of it, just having that sustain and ability to stick around in the fight is important on a map like Ice Mines, where you get super punished for your death.
One thing I think Khan is good for, and this is something, again, that I saw, I was actually talking to Meta Pusher at one point about it, and it's just, well, it's nice to be able to just ult them, either hold them in place and let them die, or throw them off the edge of the map and let them die because they get the respawn timer, then they have to run back. If it's someone like a Nara that just doesn't have a movement ability and they're very slow inherently, pick them up and just throw them as far away as you possibly can. On Ice Mines, there's actually a few spots you could do that.
Make it through the snow.
And you have to get really aggressive on the point capture to make that work for you, but if you do that, then there's no frontline presence from a Nara coming down on that point.
And sometimes that's all you need. You just need to send them away, close them, rescind their invite to the party, and nah, I don't even need you dead. I just need you not in my sight right now so my team can put in the work. But that may be one of the reasons just banned away. And this does mean Makoa is going to be the first pickup, first appearance in this game.
Makoa, Shaolin, Maeve, Genos, Terminus. This is a good lineup from Wolfpack. I'm kind of curious as to how the Terminus is going to perform because it's had some misses more than I think it's had some hits so far this set. But Maeve, Shaolin, they were looking good last game. Maeve towards the tail end of it, so that warm-up is already there. And then, of course, Makoa is just always good.
Pip, too. So Maldamba and Pip are going to be putting in a lot of work to keep Inara and Nando alive. And maybe because Slicky's had a warm-up on the Maeve now, and as we saw him picking things up there in the end of the game, he can start out of the gates much stronger here on Ice Mines.
I think that's going to be kind of the big question. How do they perform now going back down to just a single DPS as opposed to what we saw earlier? Although it's not even going to be Slicky. Slicky's on Makoa, Hovenhurst, the one who was the Bomb King and one of the players, again, that I remember very well. These two specifically, but this entire team are the ones switching places. Whereas on the other side, like you said, we have now a Pip plus a Maldamba and a double front line. Curious as to how this goes, because again, it feels very much like Team All Mid have been watching Europe play a lot.
A lot of switch-ups in what we're used to seeing these players on. Slicky, first front line of the game. Even Boft and Ray. Ray's not on a big old carry right now. Still just putting a lot of pressure as that frontliner. The Team All Mid, first onto the objective. You expect that with this composition. Reynolds blasting from the top. Rotates around, gets hooked in by the Makoa. But luckily has the weightless to escape. And there's your first blood from Hovenhurst.
Going to be taking down Boft, and that's just Mega Potion right now is not up, not available, no healing coming through. And Nara Ray is relatively low, and Reynolds actually uses that to heal himself. I don't know where Maldamba is. Well, now I do. He's dead, and it's just not going to be a lot. You need that healing to go in to Ray. Keep this Nara alive, or else, just like this, your presence on the point is gone.
And the one kill when they got it onto Terminus, it wasn't enough for Team All Mid to actually go and turn the tides. But it's still definitely a manageable situation. You got to take this Makoa off of the point. At least force him off, even if you can't kill him right away. Acapella gets a kill for himself, but ends up getting killed immediately after. Luckily, they have a Nando to rotate towards the objective in the meantime. As they try to lock down this Terminus, gets the stun. Mux goes down.
Shots coming through. Makoa forced to dash away. Fieselfee's getting low. A couple more shots, maybe some follow-up. Could have actually gotten the kill there, but now Heat Haze is popped, and he's going to be back in the equation. Shots are going to be good so far, but he's taking a lot of damage in return.
Yeah, hit one, missed another one, so it's 2 for 4 as far as his shots go during that Heat Haze. And now he's back to his regular old self. Gets it planted, lands some into the Inara, eventually throws up the wall, just wanted to wait for enough time. And Team All Mid get the capture, because if anything, you've got that distraction value.
Ray on Inara is in a very interesting position. Now the position is dead, but right before that, it was in a spot that you normally would see kind of a flank fill, someone who's going to be doing a little bit more damage. And there was a point where an Evil Mojo comes out, it hits Slicky, kind of forces him away. Really good at capturing the point. You don't even need the kill. You just force out the front line so you can get the point. And he gets kind of low, but he's still walking away healthy. And then there's Ray, just like, bop, 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 I'm Inara, here's my staff, and you're dead. Even though I'm not anywhere near where I think a Inara should be. It's still perfect timing, perfect positioning for the team.
And I think the fact that on Wolfpack, when you have the Heat Haze popped and you hit 2 of the 4 shots where you're clearly focused on the pip, that's obviously who you're trying to get. But it means 2 things. 1, if you don't hit every shot, you don't get the 1 target you were going for. 2, it means you're not even looking to see if there's some other way that you can allocate the resources that is a bit more reliable. So off of that, Team All Mid was able to just get that capture, and now they've pushed this because they made it past that first choke that we were talking about. The rest of this was an easy peasy push, and they're at the next choke point where the big battle can begin.
1 minute left, and honestly, every single death All Mid has, or anytime they get pushed back, even just a little bit, it's going to cause a lot more distress because it's just so hard to regain ground on Ice Mines. A few good rockets, maybe necessarily using Acapella's ult as well, just to open up some space, could be the difference between this payload going in and sitting where it is.
I would like to see it and need him to find a good angle to do so, though, because Wolfpack are kind of in this line where as soon as you hear that wind up, you'd be able to see where Acapella is and try and just burn him down before he could find his target. There was a nice hit to take down Feaselfeast, who was hiding behind the wall, and that's the opening you need to go through and try and get this ultimate off, and actually manages to get some damage. Here's the Immortal coming out from Boff, putting himself back down onto the payload. A nice stun onto Terminus as well, who may get punished if need be. Slicky has the Ancient Rage, swinging away, doesn't hit with the hook, but Mux ends up getting the 1-for-1 trade right now.
Tries to do whatever he can, does end up helping take down Ray right now, but unfortunately, there's still enough damage. Drogos might be able to do it. They don't have enough frontline presence, though, is the big issue here from All Mid. And this is going to be one of the key reasons you always see this map typically go 3-3. Defending is heavily favored, but I mean, you burn 4 ults on the side of Wolfpack to get that defense. All Mid are very happy about that.
And All Mid burned some as well. The Immortal, they had the Dragon Punch, but it was early enough where it's already to 62%. Using the Seismic Crash as well, that's what helped them lock down onto Mux on the opposite side. And then Evil Mojo is basically back up. So if they need to use that again to try and just take Slicky off of the point, they can do so.
It's in that area where Slicky and Mux are going to have to wait much longer to get their ults back than anybody on the side of All Mid. Both of those pretty much giving you a second life. Slicky has to pop his before he dies, Mux pops his after he dies, but it's the same kind of effect. Master Riding, I think, right now is the item that really makes the big difference. Ray, Mux both have those. And that is specifically, we're going to get to the point a little bit faster. Try to get set up a little bit quicker, which makes a big difference just because of how this map is laid out.
And then Sacred Asura needs to make sure that he helps Mux if he decides to rotate that aggressively. But here we are, 1-to-1 Feasel taking to this nice angle. You hear the Midnight come on through for Wolfpack. Team All Mid decide to take a little breather of their own in that time. They didn't want to get caught out through that Midnight duration, but Boft still chunked down, ends up getting the last hit from Feaselfeast.
Mux is low. Mux is about to go down even as things go. Getting aggressive. Feaselfeast jumps down, planted. A shield was around, and that's actually perfect from Wolfpack, but unfortunately not able to find any kills off of it. Still trying to figure out where they want to go. Inara is so low. Ray could die right here, but it's going to be Slicky one hit, and that's going to be it.
Oh, man, tried to shell spin away and everything. I like what I see from Acapella. Looks like he's going to find another one onto Sacred Asura. And Team All Mid, I'm feeling good about their ability to get this capture right now. Because even moments, you saw Ray when he was so low, but then put up a wall at the exact right time where no one could make it around the corner into the cubby, and he allowed himself enough time to actually heal up.
Shots going around. I love the way they're playing this. Acapella showcasing exactly why Power Siphon and Shields, similarly, all only face one direction. So you can shoot around them if you have that ability. Drogos is the perfect way to showcase that. And his positioning so far has been pretty spot on in terms of being able to turn his damage into something useful for his team.
I loved his rotation so that he knew exactly where Mako was going to try and break through from. And 99% for Team All Mid. Wolfpack, not enough to keep this capture from happening. So Team All Mid get another capture.
They're going to have their ults online here soon, Wolfpack, except for the Heat Haze, which was just used and did not really get too much. On the side of all mid, they're working on the charges. And again, when you're looking at things like Pip, like Drogoz, they're going to charge it a lot faster. Partially because they're blasters, they can hit a lot more shots, do a lot more damage, have a much bigger impact. And then partially just because of their inherent charge rate. Right now, Pip, Raynal is probably the one who's going to be able to get it up the most, and it's already up to 40%. Should be there by the time they hit that second choke.
Luckily for Wolfpack, they're able to get a couple picks in the meantime. Fuse with the double kill. So payload on the regression. Last time when it hit this mark, about 145, Team All Mid was already so close to that last choke point, and Wolfpack did a great job of holding on to it and defending. But now, even better, get this impact early.
Maeve is just not connecting enough daggers for me. It's one of those areas where, especially longer range, is more difficult to, but there's so many fights that I think could be swayed a lot easier for Fees, a lot easier for just the team in general on the side of Wolfpack to find those last hits. If there was just a little bit more upfront burst, and Hovenhurst this time around, again, you're having to warm up to where these daggers go, how they feel, and it's just not quite hitting the same marks I feel like you're seeing out of Acapella on the other side with the Drogoz.
Luckily, the damage dealers from Wolfpack are using the map to their advantage to keep themselves alive. Freeze, for instance, Fees had a very, very low HP pool on him for a moment, but then he just ducked behind a wall. Maeve as well, on that high ground, just ducked around that kind of chopped up mountain corner. And that's what's allowed them to then turn it back to get a couple of these picks.
Holding around this corner has been very impressive so far from Wolfpack, the way they're able to do it. Now they're starting to fall back a little bit as all mid are gaining momentum and the ults are coming online. Both teams pretty much have all of them. Nara still lagging a little bit behind the rest of all mid, but everyone else in the match has anything at their use. All ults could make a big difference whether or not you get them popped. This is really the big one to try and burn down the Ancient Rage, the Reanimate. Get rid of those so they're not there for the next point.
I love the way that Team All Mid is trusting with Inara, just standing on the payload to keep pushing that forward. At one point did have to back off, but really great allocation of all time, knowing the limits and saying, okay, I can stay down here until I get to about 20% HP. Then I have enough healing where if I just back off for a moment's time, I can come back through it. Here's the time and space on the high ground. Dragon Punch finds himself a Makoa. The Dread Serpent adding separation for Team All Mid. Hovenhurst is up to you to land some of these daggers. Should be able to get this onto Acapella, but not in time. Only after the push has already happened.
And I really hate throwing them, especially because at the end of the round, Hovenhurst does get the kill. There were 2 times before that Drogoz should have died, and it was just those last few daggers. Your pounce connects, and it's just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit too high, a little bit too low, every single time just off the mark. And Acapella has lived because of that, and because of his impact. I mean, the first time he should have killed him was before the ult. That Dragon Punch comes through, it gets rid of Makoa, and it makes it so much easier to push that in, find yourself up to 3-1. Yeah, you get the comeback mechanic, you can maybe play on that, but your point fights have not been going well enough to rely on this.
If you're kind of in the lull of the game, you can afford to miss some daggers on Maeve. There's no reload or anything, but those are the moments where it's, hey, if you land one more dagger here, he's done, and we can try and turn our focus on the rest of the team. It doesn't happen, and granted, there are other people that could do it too. They do have this composition where there's a Shaolin as well, but unfortunately, you do need to make sure that you can hold completely. See, when they land, look how hard they're hitting. Slicky gets the early kill onto Boft, and Wolfpack, with comeback mechanic available to them, are already on the objective.
Similar to how they started the last point, but this time, again, with comeback mechanic, it makes it a lot easier to gain that percentage. Already up to 50, and as long as they can hold just a little bit of a zone, they should be fine. But Acapella picks up Fees. They lose the Pip, but that's 71% on that Dragon Punch one more time. If it comes up, then that's going to be a big game changer.
Finally, Team All Mid are able to break it through, but it's 93% already for Wolfpack. Mux makes himself known, gets the double kill. Now he's standing strong, overtime trickling on down, and Team All Mid doesn't have anybody here that can actually go and hold, so Wolfpack capture.
Where was this Mux 2-3 games ago? That was phenomenal Terminus play when it came down to it. And again, early on, we're looking at a solo Terminus who was running in, dying, just not able to have any impact in a fight for Wolfpack because of that. And all you needed maybe, I guess, was the second front line. With that little bit of pressure alleviated, someone else to stand on the point while you fight, it has made the big difference. That was great there. Still has his reanimate. Getting a little low right now, but it doesn't really matter to him.
Yeah, when Mux was solo frontline on the Terminus in game #1, it just didn't seem to feel like it was clicking. Like, not playing as if that is exactly the role that you have in that comp. But here, with that security of the Makoa as well, can't afford to get aggressive and not have to worry about that as well as the objective. But Team All Mid are just getting blasted away right now. As Wolfpack, they're creating such an opening.
It honestly feels like we see, for the beginning of this game, I want to just describe it as like a shadow of what Wolfpack is. And then when they start losing and they realize, oh wait, we really have to crack down or else we're out here, we're starting to see where the full team is. Fees pops the Heat Haze, gets some decent shots off, only one so far, but they're just setting themselves up for victory.
Through time and space as well from Wolfpack, and here's the Dread Serpent, catches a couple of them. Fees brings himself back. Acapella with the double kill though, so Team All Mid starting to break this open just a tad. Finds another one onto Slicky, gets taken out, but had so many kills beforehand to even the odds.
Man, almost able to convert it. Wolfpack, though, get pushed back. Now 50 seconds left, so they're probably going to end up taking a lot of this. They might be able to touch down, might be able to get an overtime. Muxt is back, so they do have presence to get on the point. But you're not just trying to get back to the payload. You have to get past All Mid to get there in the first place, and they seem to have every single entrance covered.
4 ultimates up for Team All Mid if they want to try and hold on this, but I don't think... I would much rather them try and hold some of the ultimates until the next round as opposed to blow them all, because then you're risking just having an entire extra round if that happens. But here we are, last 15 seconds. Payload has actually regressed quite a bit, but Wolfpack, they're back. They have ultimates of their own if they want to use them in a 13 streak for Hovenhurst.
Honestly, if you're All Mid, you kind of want them to pop it. If they pop their ults, then I think it's 100% worthwhile to let it go in. But no ults being popped means that it's much more worthwhile to keep them at a deficit in terms of point. If they capture this next one, they can still win, but you can't win off the capture. You have to push it, which so far no team has really been able to find that successfully. I mean, All Mid got it, but honestly, it was more on the side of Wolfpack making a few mistakes that really let it through.
And Wolfpack, they have half comeback mechanic available to them this time. If Team All Mid end up getting blasted like they did towards the beginning of the last round, even though it's not the full speed that Wolfpack can capture as it was previously, they should be able to even up this game 3-3. A couple of master riding on the side of both of these. Actually 3 for Wolfpack, so they really want to get this capture.
I'm going to call out Acapella and ask about the Nimble, because it doesn't work while you're in the air. But I guess while on ground, and there's been considerable amounts of time where you can stand on high ground on this map, that you can still use it. So it's got utility, but it's not the best. That was a beautiful chicken, but no follow-up being able to find the kills.
Not at all. Midnight gets popped as well. Acapella, he's still here, but only for a second. Fees makes his rotation around with the Heat Haze. Finds this Maldamba, but gonna miss a few shots. Either way, look how far back he had to go. Team All Mid. Man, this was just cracked wide open.
Pushed back, still one ult on both sides. Unfortunately, though, All Mid, their ults just did not make a big enough difference. I mean, the Dragon Punch came through, gets Reanimate. Seismic Crash didn't seem to actually cause enough space to get anything back. Through time and space comes through, and he finds 3 off the shot!
Man, triple kill off of Through Time and Space. Wolfpack, that should be enough for them to actually make a really good amount of progress on this push, because Team All Mid can't hold with just 2.
I don't know how you feel after that happens to you. On the other side, though, I know exactly how Wolfpack are feeling. That made it so much easier for them to try and take this game and even up this set. All they have to do is push this through. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than just saying it. And as long as they can keep finding kills like this, it's going to be still hard, but a lot easier because they're fighting essentially a perpetual 4v5.
Especially on a map like this, when you get the triple kill out there Through Time and Space, a lot of times it's on one of the smaller maps where it's, oh, everyone is in this one spot and there's walls on both sides that they can't actually make it through. This was a fairly open break, and finding the chance to do that was super cool for Wolfpack.
Payload breaking that last archway. It's now in the base of All Mid, but it's still got a little bit of room. And this is where defenses will stand strong all the time. This is where it becomes incredibly difficult to try and lock down pretty much anything, just because, again, they respawn here in the wide open. There's nothing you can do while they have all of the advantage in terms of defending.
Oh, there's a slam down. Ray is just trying to lock onto Mux here. So when you have that situation, front line on front line, and you're just kind of distracting on the side, then you're hoping the rest of your team is just focusing down to try and push this. But Team All Mid, they've taken to this high ground right here. They're ready for Wolfpack to just show their faces.
Now, if you're All Mid, this defense is probably the most important thing to you for the next 40 seconds until then it becomes all about the next capture. As of right now, Wolfpack, again, similarly, this push is very, very important for them, trying to be able to tie up this set, not get knocked out, and not give All Mid the opportunity to come back and try and win this. Mux, low health, but is still going to be able to kind of get in here. The question is whether or not they're going to make that difference. Do any ults come out? Because almost all 10 are available.
Evil Mojo did just come up as well, but you know that Team All Mid wants to try and hold on to all of these for the next capture if they can. Approaching the last 5 seconds, a nice slam down to take some good damage onto Reynol, but he backs up with the waitlist, and with the help of this Drogo, should be able to push this Terminus back. Gets the kill, but he ends up bringing himself back as well. Double kill for... Wow, it's actually 2 kills on both sides right now. Triple kill for Acapella as overtime. It's still going, and the payload's still pushing.
Now all he needs is a couple of good rockets. I don't know where you're looking. There's 2 people there in front of you. Finally going to find it. Reynolds picking up those 2 kills. Overtime goes down. And I want to say, I think Wolfpack, specifically Mux, played what he did really well. If he was alive there, they might have been able to push it and might have made a big difference. But he just goes in, recognizes, look, I'm half health already. I'm probably going to die. I just want a couple swings to make sure I get my ult available. That's all I need for this next round. Now he has that. He's ready to go back into it. A couple of blast shields, really itemizing, trying to deal with his Drogos. Maeve, though, is gun into resilience, has the cauterize, and again, like you said last round, master riding galore for this team to try and keep them moving in it. The items are looking strong on the side of Wolfpack.
It's super important, though, that Team All Mid was able to hold that defense without using any of their ultimates. So we need to see the Team All Mid that can land them effectively, not the ones that sometimes blow 3 of their ultimates and get no value off of them and just fall apart at the seams. I think it's important. We'll see which ones they actually end up starting off with here. Start to rotate into the side cubby. There's the Evil Mojo. Mux ends up getting taken down. A Dragon Punch, nice and channeled, but there's the Midnight still looking for somebody right now and ends up finding Mux nonetheless after the use of that ultimate as well. So Team All Mid, 51%, Immoral as well as the Ancient Rage swinging away onto the Inara, but luckily has him healing below.
63% right now charged up. Hovenhurst, though, going to be able to pick up 2 right there. Creates a lot of space for him. And Nara and Maldama, the only ones left standing. And Ray cannot stand long unless the healing is there. And that fountain was closed off. So 66% installed, 3-3. Wolfpack back in it. And they're getting aggressive. They're going to have a good hold.
Yeah, Reynolds, that was just caught into a little corner right now. And Team All Mid, yeah, they have a lot of people up, but they can't make it through. Hovenhurst, despite being an easy target to just chunk down, actually manages to apply a decent amount of pressure. Wolfpack, 84%, still climbing. Can anybody from Team All Mid make it to the objective in time? Finally, the Nando does, luckily, but still ends up getting chunked down overtime. And here's the rotation from the rest.
They have to be able to deal with Hovenhurst right now while Pounce is down. Once that comes back up, it's going to be bad trading right there with the Drogos. Mux is low, Mux is down, and that gives Inara all the presence she needs on the point.
It was looking real scary for Team All Mid, but they managed to get a lot of kills under their belt, and I Am Ray standing strong now in pursuit of this Genos. Overtime in the favor of Team All Mid as it expires, and they take the game as well as the set.
Maybe a little bit too close for comfort from them there. There was a lot from Wolfpack, especially towards the tail end of that set, that looked much better than they did early on.
Yeah, it looked like they were about to capture, and luckily Nando was able to make it through and ended up getting killed, but it was still enough time for then Inara to swoop in and be able to hold. And it was really difficult because they were so long that they didn't have the entire team collective there. What are they going to do if they only have 3 or 4 players up at a time?
You have to make that trade. And it's something I think we've seen a lot of teams recognize as more necessary. Is every now and then it is worth giving your life for an overtime timer. Sometimes in the sense, earlier on in the game, it gives, your respawn timers a chance to reset. You can go for a defense. Right there, it's just, give me a few more seconds. I know we can do something. That's all we have to do.
But that was a pretty lengthy set from both of these teams, Wolfpack and Team All Mid. Team All Mid ended up taking the victory 3-1, but a lot of 4-3s, 4-2s. right there in the end. It all came down to that one capture. But both of these teams have qualified to the phase finals.
Both going to be there. I'm excited to see what Wolfpack does because, again, that last half felt a lot better than their first half. And I think with a couple weeks of practice and, again, kind of getting back into the feel of it, the finals are going to be lit.
And so this was our second week of the PGS. I'm ready for some lit finals as well as some lit gameplay on the stream that we have going for Realm Royale. As that has been released, you can download it for free on Steam Early Access. So go do that. I mean, you have some time. There's actually a decent break between our broadcast now and our PPL broadcast later, so you don't have an excuse.
So you can chill, watch Realm Royale, play Realm Royale, and then come watch the PPL later today. And we're in Europe, so it's going to be some actually really interesting match. I think today Mouse has a doubleheader.
You never have to leave the realm unless you want to. So we have.
But you can't.
Yeah, you can't. Once you're here forever, guys. So, you know. That was a really serious face, man. Alrighty, everyone. That's going to do it for our Paladins Global Series broadcast for the day. It's time for us to take a little bit of a sit back until we have our Paladins Premier League later. So, have a fun time, guys.